can't help but think of you in Japan and your great run there, and your great run with Stan the Lariat Hansen. What was it like working with Stan the Man?
I just talked to Stan about 2 days ago. Stan Hansen, I and Frank Goodish or Bruiser Brody, we all got started about similar time, and we talked about when we got started, the travels and the things we did, and corners we used to have to cut just to make a living, because we wasn't doing that well when we first started. You were at the bottom of the card, and it was tough going, but them guys got a big push in Japan, and I was staying over here a little bit, and Stan said, "Hey, Ron, let's go." So every March and April, I'd go over there, me and Stan would be teammates over there, and Brody was working with a different promotion. We worked for Baba, and Brody was working for Inoki. Whenever we were in there, and at similar times, we'd always meet Brody somewhere, and we'd go out a pretty good time. But Stan Hansen, I used to laugh at that son of a gun. He'd get that ring, say, "Tag me back, I'm tired. No sooner I get the ring, he'd tag me back in. That son of a gun, he was blown up, but he'd go another 30 minutes. They just amazed me how he could do that. They done it every time, and he couldn't see. His vision is not that good, and poor old Stan would have to say, "Point me in the right direction" sometimes. but Hansen was a great guy, and here he is, a big old 300-pounder, but we used to like to make all the tours of all the palaces and a lot of the historical sites over there. A lot of it's wood. If you go in a wood building, what you got to look out for is wasps. And poor old Stan is terribly allergic to them. He told me several times, he says, "Ron, if we get in here and I get stung or something, he says, I've got a kit in my pocket. You better stick me or you'll bury me." And I said, "Okay." So where he went, he had one of those things with him. And I always thought a big old 300-pounder man like that and a little wasp take him out. It goes to show you how weak sometimes,
Oh, yeah, very true. And you and Stan the Man, the former tag champs over there, and you guys were kind of roughshod. Did you love your time in Japan, especially hanging out with Stan and Brody?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the guys, it's a different world, different culture. And don't get me wrong, I was always glad to get off that plane coming back home. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're there, you always gotta make the best of what you got. And the Japanese, they pride themselves on being host. You know what I mean? You'd get some of these guys that. We met a guy over there. He was a jeweler. He was in the pearl business, and we called him Joe the Pearl Man. And we was in Tokyo. He always wanted to take us out and feed us and all this stuff. And the more he could do for you, the better off he'd do. It was face is what they call it. He was having a good face is what it was. And so we learned the ins and outs over there, and we learned who to talk to, who to take care of you, where to go to eat. And it was just great. And I'll tell you some understories here. Over there, a lot of the promotions in different places over there, they were actually run by the underworld over there, the gangsters, I guess you could say. And those people over there, it's funny. If you're one of the mob or whatever, and you mess up, they take off a joint off your finger. That's your punishment. These guys would be sitting there talking to them. They have 2 or 3 fingers on each hand, rust number and stone. But we already out on the street, walking down the street, and the older guys, the main bosses were in the back, men standing, and the young guys in front just pushing people out of the way. It was just amazing how they got by with all that stuff. But you learn to adapt, and like I say, the guys would go over there, they'd lose weight. Instead, I'd gain weight. It was a good time. It was a great time.
Do you have any good Bruiser Brody stories that maybe no one's heard before?
Well, the best one I got with Bruiser is, it involves me really bad, but I shouldn't brag about it. But Stan had just come in from town. He said, "Hey, Brody's over at the other hotel. Let's go meet him." So we go there and sat around. We have us a couple of knockbacks and things. And he said, "Let's go get some noodles." I said, "Where at?" And he said, "Well, there's a little stand down there." So we go down there and we start walking by, and we hear karaoke singing. And, karaoke in Japan happened a long time before it did here. We looked inside, and there was Harley Race and Hector Guerrero. And Hector was on the mic singing. And we go in this little bar, and Harley Race, man, that son of a gun, he got us drinking tequila. That night, I got into it, and boy, I got back to the room. I was so drunk. And I knew I should have did the old finger down the throat and get rid of it, but I didn't. And the next morning, Stan came and said, "Hey, we got to go." I told him, "Screw it, I ain't going. Just leave me here." I was out of it. Stan came into the room then, opened the window, and he's standing at the bathroom door, and I couldn't get to the bathroom. I run to the window over there. They still raise the windows up, these big hotels, and boy, I just... Jack Tom puked all over that street. You ought to seen those little Japanese running down below. But it was, that was one of the best ones I've ever been around Frank. I never met Frank's wife, and I just talked to her a couple of days ago on the internet and just connected with her. And she just told me it was 28 years now that since Brody's been gone, man. It just, time flied or what?
Oh, yeah. Crazy how fast time has kind of come and gone. And it's just, you think, about your time in Japan and obviously the great times with Brody.